So churches are short church buildings, but a church is a group of people. So if you really wanted to photograph a church, you'd photograph the people.
Yeah.
So that might be a little take you could do.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Have a load of people.
Wait. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what I thought it was. I thought it meant Bolden.
No, so Sasha, for 300 years they didn't have church buildings.
Oh, my mum would like that. She's very Christian and she likes not to have a building.
Yeah.
It was only when Constantine, the emperor, got converted that they started having big buildings and
And Christianity is worldwide. You could probably Google that, Sash, and have a look at where it's concentrated. But Africa is very Christian, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so South America, is it?
South America, yeah. China, the church is exploding in China.
Is
So I never thought it was China's being very...
Yeah, well, because it's been illegal for a long time, but it's all very underground. They got their official church, but their house church, where they meet in homes, is really quite big in China. Korea, South Korea, went from less than 1% Christian to about over 33% Christian in under 100 years. And I think it's more than that now.
And what about a broader view? Like, why do you think people are religious?
I think there's a difference between religion and spirituality.
Yeah.
So Jesus was quite anti-religious.
Yeah.
So a lot of his teaching and preaching was anti-religion, which tends to be about power, in my view, power and control and ritual and all of that stuff that people like. And it's a controlling thing.
Like Catholics saying you can't have an abortion.
Well, it's about it's and even more than that. I think it's. I mean, I'm not anti saying these things are true and good, maybe, and some lifestyle rules.
Yeah, a bit of guidance.
But on the whole, I think religion is all about ritual and trying to kind of earn favour with God by doing rituals and things.
Yeah. Do this and you'll go to heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people like that stuff, and they, in my experience, tend to be the hardest people to reach.
Really?
Yeah. So there are people in church who I would say are not Christians because they like religion rather than Jesus. So if you ask them about their faith, they won't talk about Jesus, they'll talk about church.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people confuse the two. They think if you go to church, that makes you a Christian. Well, if you're a Christian, you will go to church. You want to be part of the Christian community. But I think that religion is very different. So if you look at, say, Jesus, a lot of his teaching was anti-religion, which was like a load on people's backs, he said, and was hypocritical and judgmental. So the reading for today is Jesus said, I didn't come to judge the world, and save the world. And that's, so the concept of grace and relationship,
And forgiveness,
undeserved love.
do as you will be done by.
Yeah.
Compassion.
So the sermon on Sunday, the reading was the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman, which was Jesus sitting down with an outcast. So
Like a leper or someone.
well, yeah, all of that. So in those days, Samaritans were seen as a Jewish person would spit in the street if they saw a Samaritan.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, they would spit in the street. They'd call them dogs. Every Jewish male would wake up and pray every morning that thank God he didn't have a woman.
Oh, God.
So, and this was a Samaritan woman, but also an outcast from her community. She was drawing water at midday. She'd had 5 husbands, and she was living with a bloke, which was like socially unacceptable. but that meant she had been cast out by her husband. It's not that she had gone from one to the other.
Yeah.
Because in those days, they could just say, I divorce you, and you were divorced.
Yeah.
So she'd been used and abused, she was an outcast. And you know, right at the beginning of John's Gospel, you've got Jesus sitting down with this woman and giving her value and acceptance and love, which was like really iffy thing to do for any Jewish male.
Yeah.
But Jesus, so that's kind of like the message is relationship, acceptance, love, all of that stuff, rather than religion.
But religion, you know, it changes, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
it's all
Yeah,
over
it
the
changes
place.
with society. and
Yeah,
society.
yeah.
And each group.
And then you do have
Kind of.
you do have beliefs. You do have some doctrine in it. So I believe that Jesus was the Messiah, which
Okay.
is like central to Christian faith. So you can follow Jesus as a good teacher and not believe that. But I would say you're not a Christian then. You're just somebody who thinks his teachings are interesting and good. So you're a kind of a friend
Yeah.
of Jesus, but he did make claims about himself as well. I'm not preaching for the day.
Yeah, I think. Okay.
I'd like to know, what about just churches as buildings
Yeah.
over the centuries have been used for all different things, haven't they?
Yeah.
Like safe houses
Yeah.
and bombings in the war, and
Yeah.
you know, they're as buildings they've got quite a checkered past in themselves,
Yeah.
haven't they?
Yeah. Well, pews are recent.
Are they?
Yeah. Organs are recent.
Yeah.
So they used to be in England. They used to be the village social centre. So they wouldn't have pews.
Sit down on.
No.
Just
So
down.
you've heard of backs to the wall and stuff. It's just
Yeah.
the weakest go to the wall. They had little benches along the wall,
Big lean.
so that the elderly or the disabled could sit down on these stone benches built into the wall. The rest of it was empty, and they'd have a gallery, and they'd have the village folk band would be in the gallery, and they'd play the music. And the music would be folky stuff, so it would be what they called carols. So Christmas carols are carols for Christmas, but they had carols all the year round. And the carols were like folky, stompy things. And if you read Thomas Hardy, you see how the vicar brings in an organ and all of that stuff, and the village band don't like it. But basically, they got booted out.
Oh, look at the bluebell.
Wow.
Gorgeous. Great lighting as well.
I remember this time last year I looked at the photograph, didn't I?
Yeah.
Oh.
So the Christian faith was much more meeting in people's homes and communal.
Ah, okay, wow.
So church buildings are just things that they got built basically after the Roman emperor got converted and he poured money into the church
Okay.
and kind of professionalised it and ruined it in lots of ways. And that was a guy called Constantine.
Oh,
And in
wow.
many ways, a lot of people think that damaged the church. It changed the Christian faith from being
Yeah, kind of
people
homely.
that shared their lives and their possessions and lived together in homes
Yeah,
to being much
yeah.
more professional and having
More costly,
yeah, big buildings and clergy and stuff like that. And after a bit, because of that, people found the church was getting corrupt. That's when monasteries started. So the monks, you've heard of monks?
Yeah, very much, yeah.
They kind of came up as an answer to the fact that the church had kind of gone a bit corrupt
Right.
and the spiritual life of the monastery, and then they got a bit corrupt as well. And then you got other movements like the Reformation in about 500 years ago, which really changed the church as well, and all sorts of movements.
I never knew that.
And even in the at the turn of the century, there was a big movement which is the biggest movement around the world in Christianity is the Pentecostal church.
Oh yeah,
You
I
heard
have
of
it.
that?
Yeah, I have heard of them. Yeah,
It's about
briefly.
100 years old now, and that is the growing church in the world.
God,
Um,
wow.
so in South America and places like that, that's the big church. In Africa, and then there was another movement in England called the house church movement,
Right.
which is going back to having churches in houses.
Oh, okay.
And that was in
About
the
that.
about 1980s, about 30 or 40 years ago. And that's still going, but they've all built their own churches now.
Oh, they've gone back. Yeah.
Yeah. So they, rather than being called house churches, they're now called new churches. So in Bristol, there's quite a lot. There's one called Woody's.
Oh, okay.
Has mainly young people, mainly students.
Yeah.
We've got 1,000 or 2,000 people there.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big church, and that'll be like rock band leading the worship,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Very relaxed,
Yeah.
very chilled out. There's another one that meets in the old fire station in the centre of town.
Oh,
which is-
really? Oh.
Yeah, called the Vineyard. And that's again very young, so it's much more youth oriented.
Dexter.
But all of that, the actual Christian faith is based around Jesus.
Yeah, of course.
So it's not really based around churches and stuff.
No.
So what's the brief of your project? What have you
I'm photographing churches, and
Right.
I'm kind of talking about,
about?
yeah, just about kind of, you know, what exists here, what they do, and
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of people join the church through that, which is how you explore the Christian faith. It's, you have a meal, you ask questions, you discuss. So that's a gateway into the church. Others come because they're looking for a local community church, which is something we offer. So we have a lot of stuff going on. We have a lot of community activities. We've just started meeting in a pub on Sunday evenings, so people. Some people came to that wouldn't come to church, but that's their way of accessing church.
Yeah.
So and some people come because friends bring them, and so they join through that reason. There's a whole variety of reasons, I guess,
Yeah,
why people
definitely.
might turn up.
Do you work in one church or several?
I work in two churches,
Right.
although my role is so I'm now responsible for all the area of South Bristol as well.
Oh wow, God, that's a big responsibility.
So I'm pulling back from one of the churches
Yeah.
to create space for me to do that.
Yeah, definitely. So when was St Paul's Church built?
St Paul's Church was built around about 1780, I think.
God, it's been there a long time then.
Yeah, it was built because Bedminster, the population exploded around there through mining.
Right, okay.
And it was one of the biggest churches in Bristol. It used to get thousands going.
Really? Biggest? Wow.
And when they opened it, the people of Bedminster stoned the Bishop of Bath and Wells, because he didn't support the reform laws. So there's a really good radical tradition there. And then it kept going. Then it was bombed in the war. There were people in the crypt, and it was flattened, and they rebuilt it in the 50s.
God.
And we're just doing a redevelopment now to hopefully bring it up to date a bit more.
Yeah, that'd be good. So what do you feel? Do you feel Christianity's declining or not? Or increasing?
I think it's a varied picture. It's basically because of the style of the service I do. So it appeals. I do something that I aim for 30 and 40 somethings in my style of service.
Right.
So we've got a good kids work. We've got youth work going on now. And the service is very relational. It's very informal, but we keep it apart from the first Sunday in the month, and we have one particularly that's aimed at kids. We keep it mixed so that there's something for older folks as well.
Is there any difference between rural and city churches?
Yeah. On the whole, rural churches tend to be much more traditional, smaller congregations. So a vicar in the real rural areas might have 8 or 9 churches, for example,
Wow,
and
that's
they'll
a
only
lot.
have one service a month.
God.
And it's a very different feel. The village will own the church and see it as theirs. Whereas in urban churches, it's much more you've got to fight for your right to party, as it were.
Yeah.
So you're in the marketplace and you've got to attract your own crowd. So very different.
Is it costly to keep a church running?
Yeah. It's really hard to shut a Church of England church down. People don't like it. Even if they never go and they don't support it, they get all upset if you try and shut it down. And it costs a lot to maintain them because they're old buildings.
Yeah, I was thinking
To
that.
heat them, to insure them, so it costs a hell of a lot to run it. So a lot of churches in South Bristol, which is the poor neighbour of North Bristol, they're struggling to survive financially.
How are churches funded?
Basically through what people give.
Oh, okay, right. I always wondered that.
Yeah.
I thought it was the government, but no.
We have an income. I think our income is about 80 grand. A lot of that is giving, and then some of that will be lettings and a few other things. And out of that we pay money into the centre to pay my wages and pension and things like that, and admin costs. We have to pay our insurance, heating and lighting and stuff like that, and then things that we run.
Yeah, like activities and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
When you say lettings, you mean